as we kick this off, we'd like to go down the row and have everyone introduce yourselves to our wonderful audience and which film you're part of and which part of the creative process you helped develop it into the great film it is.
Hi, I'm Brendan Casey, and I'm the 3D animator, director, and writer for Double Trouble.
My name is David Liban. I am the writer, director, and producer of Publish or Perish. Thank you, thank you.
I am Bonnie Utter, and I played Amy Bowden in Publish or Perish.
I'm Ryan Kelly. I'm the director of SNAPP.
I am Mark Wilson. I played Detective Wilson in Publish or Perish.
I'm Adam Gilmore. I was a co-director for Yearning for a Thursday.
I'm Tara Robertson, and I am a co-director and writer on Yearning, and also the skeleton operator.
Oh, nice.
So, of course, the block of films we just saw deals both figuratively and literally with the ideas of what one gives to the creative process, but also can be met with quite the literal circumstances in that climb. And we would love to start off by Brendan. Funny, we're starting with you, but this film was your thesis in school, and congratulations, that's awesome. And so you have a great history with animation, with 3D modeling. You've stated that you have a wide range of inspirations from everything from Ghibli to the latest interactive media from Bethesda. And what was it that started you on this journey in your specific medium and led to you deciding the concept that you created for your capstone in this part of your education?
So, thank you. I have wanted to do animation for as long as I've been able to draw. That's like the most stereotypical sentence ever, but it's true. I drew for as long as I could, and then when I found out animation was a job I could have, I was obsessed with animation. And when I got to college, I fell in love with video games, and I actually work in video game animation. But I love animating stories, and comedy is my favorite. So really, everything that was leading up to that moment was just that I wanted to make something that made me laugh. And yeah, that's I really enjoy making myself laugh first and then hoping it makes other people laugh too. So I hope it's successful.
It was. And yeah, you state that you love exploring fantastical scenarios from post-apocalyptic to the more what one would think of when you say fantasy. And has this been kind of your go-to? And is that what you're looking to explore as you continue in this field?
Maybe. This was definitely my attempt at fantasy. I think next I'd love to explore something else. Maybe I'll come back to fantasy is what I always want to do first. As soon as I think of an idea, immediately fantasy is where I put that. So I think as I'm going to force myself to do other things. But yeah, fantasy is definitely a favorite of mine.
And yeah, we understand that this is one of the last festivals on your circuit before it hits the World Wide Web and everyone can learn to appreciate it all together at once. And with that said, is there anything specific you're currently working on with what you just said a minute ago?
Not yet. I was accepted to a horror genre festival a couple months ago, which if you saw the film, I'm not sure why. But talking to a lot of the people there made me really appreciate horror. And so I think that might be my next experiment.
Well, Remember Us, because that would be amazing to see that style in something macabre. And I'm pretty sure I know why they accepted it, because those giant eagle talons are scary. So we're going to go in order of screening. And next we want to talk to SNAPP. Ryan Kelly, hello. So you have our 48-hour film project submission of the year. And we would like to, of course, explore the idea that your concept, obviously, we're guessing that you did not know you were going to be doing a rom-com multiversal romp until day of, wherever that may be. How did that work out? What criteria were you given for this project? Because and what else was just you added in because you could?
Yeah, so this project was for last year's Agbo, the Russo brothers. They just started doing a 48-hour film project, and it's kind of like the one we all know about that we do in San Diego, but theirs, they just put it online to the world, and they give you like a broad. So this year was combine 3 or more genres, I think under 3 minutes or under 4 minutes, and go. And so we had, we had, there was 5 of us on the film total between actors and crew. And we like literally sat at our house by the fire and like tried to like come up with ideas. And eventually we get a framework, and I kick everybody out, and then I write. And then the next morning people show up and we just like go for it. So yeah, it was just, it's always kind of that way. It's very like one little spark of an idea, and then make something that we try to pull off in 48 hours, and then no sleep, and yeah, and that's what you get.
So beneath all of its humor and the jokes that land and just the brisk, energetic, kinetic sense that you get from the film, I like how the film is also able to speak kind of to the modern anxieties from like mobile dating and the current online dating scene in general. And it's kind of a cathartic way to kind of express the general, and possible toxicities within that from the lens of comedy that we can all relate to. What about that went into the process, since you had such a ability to control what went into the film?
Honestly, the feel of that was all the actors. Like I've never done online dating, so it's never been in my world, but I know they have. And once the ideas started flowing, I think Beth just jumped on it. She's like, "Oh yeah, I've been here. I know what this is gonna be like." And then we wanted to twist it. Like, how can we make it a sci-fi with bringing the different, like the multiverse almost, like make it something like that. So they just totally ran with it. Yeah.
Considering the multiverse has been such a big modern thing right now in tentpole cinema, did you have kind of an urge to almost expand the film at some point, since literally it is a concept that you can explore endlessly with much more scenario to it?
Yeah, for sure. It was tough to kind of like reel it in and realize, oh wait, we have less. The clock is ticking, so it's like, okay, we can film during the day, maybe a little bit at night on Saturday, so I have all day Sunday to finish this. So let's keep it kind of reeled in. But yeah, 48s are tough because there's always like some issue and you gotta fix it with no time. So fortunately, that one they do keep you like time limit, so it's not like, oh, anytime 20-minute film, go for it. So then we would have been in trouble. But
so I think we all yearn for a Thursday every now and then, and I'm going to quickly completely overshoot the film's concept really quick. Yearning for a Thursday, it's almost the end of the week, which almost personifies the end of a life. and approaching the not end quite yet. It just seems so special what has been portrayed on screen through a way that we can all laugh at. And it's probably way off. In other words, I'm asking, what was the concept of the film and where was it born from? Because as you can tell, the room was quite joyful of this.
Hello, does that work? Am I good? Okay, cool. Thank you all for watching. By the way, I really appreciate everyone being here and watching a bunch of independent cinema and all of that. That is just incredible. So thank you all for being here for that. And to your question, it was always kind of concepted to be something that was open-ended. You know, I really wanted there to be a question of, can I laugh at this? Do I laugh at this? Is it funny? Is it something that, like, do I feel bad for the little skeleton guy, you know, like he's going through it? And definitely kind of writing that line, kind of like not really sitting like, oh yeah, so this is a comedy, we need to lean into the jokes here, or this is not, this is really art house cinema, we need to lean into that. We kind of try to ride this line of genre that I think was honestly a lot of fun to dive into.
Yeah, I think something that was really fun about it is that I feel like it was kind of ever changing, like during the process. Like we had specific ideas that developed into more intricate ideas or different ideas that we weren't expecting to come up. So that was kind of fun, like finding new avenues for its theme and the way it could be interpreted.
The visual references and style of the film are striking. And for any cinema buffs in the room, most likely are thinking the same thing. I mean, you have your Bergmans, you have your De Sicas, you have your Skelly. And I'm just wondering, what films did you pull from? Because, you know, this bicycle thief just stole our hearts.
That's a fantastic question. I think that definitely for inspirations and things like that, I think that the best thing that works for me personally is to just kind of surround yourself with as many incredible pieces of art that you can, so that when, you know, we shot this incredibly run and gun, you know, we had the camera, no lighting, no, it was just her and I, me with camera, her with skeleton. And, you know, I think that, like, when you're kind of pressed for time, pressed for a location, pressed for something going wrong or anything like that, you kind of have these inherent, you know, things that make you enjoy cinema. They kind of fall back on that. And you're like, okay, well, I remember this shot from this movie. I don't really remember the name of it, but they did this really cool thing, and maybe we can try that, and that might work. And it's a lot of that, and then it's a lot of cutting 80% of that, and then the 20% is what lives.
And this last question right here will actually bring us to our next film as well. But we have a running theme in some of our films regarding, you know, the objective analysis of art. And with what you just said, you know, the taking of inspirations from various imagery and memories, flickers of cinema from throughout your life's watch. How much of that is a bit of a actual a commentary on what is art, what is original, what doesn't need to be loved as much as the last. Something that we always love discussing in cinema circles itself. How much of that was a commentary in itself?
These are fantastic questions. Wow. I think that, like, looking at originality, and I think definitely when we were concepting this, we wanted to find something that was original, of course. And I wouldn't be surprised if I, like, scoured film festivals and found something similar or something like that. But I think that there's always this line that we can fall back on with what we wanted to do and what we wanted to tell. What truth that have we found about being a human being that we can share with people, even if it's really out there, even if it's not specifically stated. What's something that we can show with imagery, something that's completely dialogueless and purely just the image itself. What can we say from us? Because in that realm, there's no, originality is a necessity at that point.
Amazing. And so, publisher perish. This is a film born out of experience in the faculty realm, as you are the chair of the University of Colorado's TV and Film.
That is correct.
And that said, we would love to hear the origins of the film and how they are, based on, knowing the living the everyday life of that environment, and how you came up with this hilariously dark story on a life you live every day that you're not on set.
So I am a professor, as you mentioned, and I was going through tenure. I had the idea for this film several years prior to actually going through tenure. So I was at several institutions, and where I'm at now is terrific. Deans are great. Everything is fine. But my previous institution, not so much. And so I was clearly not going to get tenure. And there's a lot of things going on. And, so you get these ideas in your head that, you spend so much time to prepare for this day where you'll drop off this dossier. And then you don't know what's going to happen. So, my mind wanders and I don't know who's on the committee. So I'm imagining these people trying to shoot me down. And so I did have an adversarial relationship with a dean, and there is a story about the dirt photos, actually, because I was at the institution and I knew I wasn't going to get tenure. Like, they didn't want me. They had for whatever reason. And I am tenured now, which is all cool. So I didn't kill anybody. So the dean said to me, come and see me. So I had all these trophies that I had from film festivals. I put them in a box, and it was very dramatic of me, yes. And I put them on his desk one by one, and I noticed on the wall he had these dirt photos there. And so I gave him the trophies, and I didn't take his photo, but but that was where I got this idea. And so I lived with this thing, and it was probably not the greatest behavior, but I was done. I had nothing to lose, so I wanted to leave my mark, essentially spit on the doorway on my way out. But it was, is anyone here a faculty member by chance? So have you gone through tenure or going? Yeah. Yeah, it's one of these things where, a lot of people that don't know academia, if you don't get tenure, you lose your job, right? So there's a lot on the line for all those years that you've been putting in. And so the stress level is very high. In hindsight, it'd be like, oh, I'll get another job, but it's, you put so much into this that's where the idea came from. Yeah.
And touching on the dirt, I wanted to ask the same question that we asked the duo from Yearning on objective analysis of art. This film has so many representations of that through various mediums, from the amazing novel that should be read, to the pictures of dirt, to a student's attempt at being the next Kenneth Anger. What do you want people to take away from your version of that same concept?
I wasn't that heady about it, to be perfectly honest. It was truly, the idea was to entertain. Like, how do we get the audience in? Like, as we were shooting it, as we were editing it, the whole time we kept asking ourselves, me and the editors, and the DP and the actors, is this funny? Do we get a laugh? And if there's not a laugh, is there some information that needs to be given here? And so, the professor and the student, they were artists or studying art, so that was just the medium that they lived in. But it was really to, entertain and to try to make people laugh when they probably shouldn't.
And for our actors who brought this film to life as well, how did this project come to you, and what experiences in the scholarly field added to the actual what you brought to this, as well as any kind of memory from what could bring to the performances yeah.
So I actually was a student at CU Denver's film school, so my character was not that far off from my actual life. I'm glad I wasn't your student when you were going through tenure. But I think what I really enjoyed about this is that I wasn't making really crappy student films anymore. I got to be a part of a really amazing production with David here, and I think working with people in such this story is obviously kind of out there, hopefully for most people, and it's kind of these crazy scenarios that wouldn't happen, but finding these moments of like truth and reality within that story. And David did a really good job on set directing us to kind of find those moments, and also working with the cast of people that it's really easy to connect with them in that way. And that is the end of what I'm gonna say.
I think I came to the project just by the traditional sense of like auditioning, and I think my agent sent it to me, and I came and I met with David, and it for me it was really easy to kind of get into the script and the character just because it was written beautifully. Like, it was so easy. All you had to do was just say the words, right? Yeah. And that's the easiest job for me as an actor. Yeah, and on set, I remember David being so just like, just relaxed, about directing.
It wasn't happening.
I know
inside.
it wasn't. It was all inside, but he was so relaxed, and so it like the energy on set. Everyone, it was just a really good energy, and I was always happy to come to set, and always happy to just see what was going on, because I knew it was going to be fun. Yeah.
Well, your banter with Jim's character in the film is just so natural, and of course, all credit, David, how you directed those scenes. You have an audience that is just being wowed at how he's getting away with all this. This is so like this. Yeah, it's pre-planned, but the way that he's actually getting away with this just through the way he says his alibi is so foolproof. When you are going through these scenes, was there anything in these lines interrogating that you felt was going to be a little bit, like, how could this, like, if this was really me, and this was I was really this guy interrogating this guy?
It was back to the writing for me. I mean, it was a phenomenal script from the beginning. I mean, I think we've talked about this on several occasions. But for me, it was a lot of fun just to. I mean, I know it's an odd thing to say, but I was so excited to put that picture up in that interrogation room.
Which one?
Because it made him feel, Tim too, it just made him feel so uncomfortable, which is exactly what it was supposed to do for the character. But like I said, I mean, I had a ball. It was so much fun, and it was so just to say the words.
I will just to kind of build on that. I mean, it's probably obvious to all the filmmakers and the people here, but when you write something down and you have it in your head, and then you see the actors bring it to life, it's like, oh wow, I didn't really think it was going to be like that. So it brings like this magic to it that just brings, it's really exciting to see. So I don't actually, when you have pros, do the work, it just. That's where the fun happens, So, and I just want to say, the way I met Bonnie also was she was a student at CU where I teach, and I'd seen her in some. She was never in my class, but I'd seen you doing something in like performing, and I needed somebody in my previous film to scream, and I needed some, Foley of somebody hollering. And so I was like, I knew you were a singer, so I had her come in, and so that's how I met Bonnie. But she screamed.
Yeah. In a feral world, background screamer number, whatever. It was me.
So, we are sure that our audience is dying to ask questions, and we have answers. So, let's see some hands up in the air.
I would just say one thing I've been thinking for about 30 years is evolution as a writer filmmaker is phenomenal from making some great short films to making his second feature. My gosh, going from his first feature to his second feature is phenomenal in terms of all types of quality,
Money.
structure, and everything.
Yeah.
He paid me to say that. But it's just ability. He's just amazing. I've seen his development and as a colleague over the years as well. I've just seen amazing development of his craft. So it's not easy. It takes 3 to 5 years sometimes to make a feature. It's the whole thing that goes into it. It's just incredible. I've seen him over time on his craft. So I think it's just nice to see it for the first time on the screen tonight. So it's like commentary on.
Thank you, Rob. Is there a question in there?
I was going to ask you just in general, how long again the very concept, the very finishing of this film?
I wrote the screenplay in 2019. I took a sabbatical, and so I just locked myself away and wrote the screenplay, and it was very cathartic. So I got a lot of demons out by writing the screenplay, and I really had a great time doing it. So that was 2019, and then we got a year of trying to get money, and then I met somebody and knew another guy. So it was about 3 years to where we are right now. Yeah.
More hands, more questions. Yes. Very, very back first.
So it was really tricky. We had to really navigate the nature around us and the movements with the skeleton. It was kind of funny because he was shooting it, obviously, and I would be moving the skeleton. For instance, in the first scene where he was leaning against the tree, and I had to keep my hands in this creepy claw so that the camera didn't see it. But at the same time, he's like, okay, be a little more subtle. I'm like, okay. Because he's like, we're trying to make it kind of realistic with the skeleton. So I'm kind of trying to inch it a little bit. And he's like, well, that's too gentle. Now it doesn't look real. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how it's going to look when it's it was very carefully. It was lots of multiple takes. The coffee one was a really fun one. I just poured it over his face. But it was, lots of hiding behind trees, getting real low. When he's reading the book, standing really far away from his little legs and going back and forth like he's kicking. So yeah, it was fun, but it was difficult, and it was a lot of definitely some real good editing and cinematography on his part so that my creepy hands weren't in it, and little minute movements and figuring out what's natural and what's too much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And then, sir, you had your hand up as well.
First of all, all the films were wonderful, and they were really enjoyable to watch. In the one in tenure, there was an art poster in the professor's office, and it was a car, and it had something to do with death or something. Tell us about the poster.
We had a production designer, Kelly Spencer, and we couldn't just use any poster for copyright reasons. So she created fake movie posters. The idea was that he was into popular art and popular movies, and so all those posters were created by Kelly, and they were kind of thematically related to Jim's plight. Yeah.
Next question. Yes.
I'm an engineer, so I'm more of a left brain, and I appreciate all of the talent that I see. This is the first time my wife and I have attended anything like this. We have an appreciation for art. I certainly have appreciation for art, so I applaud you all on what you have created here. It's really quite enjoyable to see and to hear how you create it. But the business side of me also sees that there's probably a lot of cost associated with putting this together. I'm just curious, kind of how do you fund your productions? Is this something that is like through the school, or just a personal endeavor that you venture off into just for the sheer joy of presenting this kind of artistic talent?
Who wants to take that?
Yeah.
Or you don't have to share it.
I mean, I'm happy to. I mean, this was the biggest budget I've ever worked on. I've made films, short films, and documentaries, largely because that's what I could get done with, close to no money. So my last feature, we did it over 4 years because I was able to fund it piecemeal at a time, and it was, that was the design of it and also the hook. But because I made that feature, I was able to sell the idea to somebody to prove them that I can make a feature at a relatively low budget. And I met somebody, everybody's story is going to be different. Like, I've been to other festivals, and it's always a different animal for every single filmmaker. How do you get that money? And it's really hit or miss. I met somebody who was an investment broker who wanted to be a producer, and I met him because he was looking for someone to write a script. He ended up liking my script, and so we went forward with that one. And so I remember I got this text and I showed it to my wife. I was like, does this say that it was greenlit? And I was like, so I mean, it was lightning struck. That's what it was for me. I can't. And then prior to that, it was crowdfunding and going into your own pocket.
I think that for a lot of the stuff that we work on, it's primarily looking at what you do have access to. What are things that you can do for free or for incredibly low cost, and kind of writing your film around that. I would have loved to have seen Skelly in a movie theater. I'd have loved to see him shopping at Ralph's and all this stuff. But looking at our resources, looking at like what calls can we make, who can we kind of like, what angles can we kind of like create kind of the story around, so that the film isn't putting us deeply in debt. I think is the answer for us, at least.
It is not a money-making endeavor. I didn't tell my partner that.
I guess the contrast that animation is, its cost is a little bit different entirely, at least working independently by myself. My most expensive or costly thing was my time. I already owned my computer, and I don't have an on-site, so the cost wasn't there, but it was time. So it was, I guess, where I'm not to say that there's a budget of time for you all, but time is much more important than cost during my animation project.
Do we have time for one more?
Dave, this won't be for you because I was one of his students in the early 2010s, so I had him for 2 years. But you've already been working on feature films. You're doing a great job. So for all the three of the short film teams, I live 2 hours north of here. I work in, I guess you could say, the LA film industry. And in that industry, a lot of decisions are made commercially. So less art and more, you kind of see how Hollywood's going right now with all the IPs and temples. So for all the short films, what is your guys' next plan when it comes to refining your artistic vision, but also learning how to tell commercially driven stories that potentially might make profit in 5 to 10 years? Like, are you guys even ready for that? Or you still want to stay in kind of this genre while you kind of refine your artistic skill sets, talking with your actors, building sets, all that stuff. So for all three of you guys, what is your next plan in terms of phasing up your career and getting more involved in the business side of the industry as well?
I'll take it first. So I've done probably a dozen short films now. So I think the next thing for me is just feature, getting that feature going, and something that I think it's weird because you don't want to go too early and be like, oh, you know, that was my one shot and I blew it. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm really trying to build up to that, to a point where I really know what I have and know that I can get it done how I want to do it. Not really thinking on the commercial viability level yet, so we'll see.
I think the bottom line, this is my personal work. I get the benefit of doing this for fun. So I don't think I think about the commercial aspects of it either. I'm doing it for as long as I enjoy it.
Yeah. I'll say that I'm very fortunate to love my day job, and if it weren't for this, you know, I think I like to describe it kind of like a fire kind of burning in your chest, where you kind of have to do it. There's no kind of way around it. If you're not working on a film for a long enough period of time, you start to go a little stir crazy, and I think that it's more just about fulfillment, putting something out there that I'm okay having my name on it, and I'm okay like for people to see and be associated with me. And when it comes to commercialism for the next project and stuff like that, if it's something like, it would be awesome to do like a really awesome action film or something like that, if you know, budget or people come along where we can make that work. But at the end of the day, I think being able to put your name on something and say, yep, that's me and I'm proud of this is much more important.
So for me, it's definitely like more like fun focused and like learning focused. For Adam, he's been doing this for a really long time. I think kind of more for fun than anything, but he's gotten obviously really, 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 really good. And I just have a lot of fun learning from him, and that would be super cool to like go commercial or something. But I'm still learning. And to go back to the previous question, it was a 2-person project, and it was for fun, and yeah, that's me. That's my answer.
You did great, by the way.
I just, did you want to say something, Mark? I just had one thing I wanted to say before we wrap it up, and this is the second time I've screened it publicly, so this is a California premiere, and it was wildly gratifying when Mia got hit in the head with and your response to that. It's like yes, success. So thank you for being a great audience. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, we definitely appreciate all of you for being a part of our festival this year. Carly Starr and I and the rest of our programming team had the greatest pleasure. It's a lot of work, but we love viewing your amazing art. It obviously brings us joy, but also laughter in this case for sure. And one more round of applause for all of them, please, as we wrap up our day.